Our theme for the year of 2023 is Living Out Loud. And our focus this month is Speaking Truth to Circumstances. The title of our talk today is The Standing Stones, and it will be given by our wonderful spiritual director, Charlene. We are so happy that you joined us here today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. If you have any joys, celebrations, concerns, please feel free to add them in the chat, and we'll include them later in the service when we do our affirmative prayer, which we call spiritual mind treatment. So with all that being said, it's time to officially start our service. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our welcoming video. Please join us as we create our sacred space. We set our intentions of deepening into our awareness and practice of our 5 pillars of spiritual living by lighting this candle in our virtual world. Our first pillar is sacred study, represented by the divine quality of truth. We use this pillar to recognize the importance of an open mind and the power of our minds. The second pillar is affirmative prayer, represented by the divine quality power. This pillar honors the power of prayer in our daily lives. Our third pillar is meditation and the divine quality of peace. This pillar reminds us of the importance of meditation and the peace we feel when we quiet our minds. The fourth pillar is circulation and the divine quality of life. We know that the great law of circulation works in our lives. As we give, so shall we receive. And the fifth pillar is sacred service and the divine quality of love. This pillar affirms our call to be of service to our world as we see through the eyes of love. Let us close our eyes as we bless this sacred space and our time together. As we weave each of these pillars of spiritual living into our service today, may they deepen our own spiritual practices of study, prayer, meditation, circulation, and service, expanding our minds and our hearts to the 5 divine qualities of truth, power, peace, life, and love. We also bless everyone who made our service possible today and everyone in attendance. May the energy of love that is generated here bless everyone abundantly, and so it is. Okay, and now it's time for our meditation. And for our meditation today, I selected a meditation that I call the meditation for releasing expectations. So we all have expectations, right? For ourselves and for others in our life. And sometimes the things work out great, and sometimes our expectations are not met. And when that happens, we hang on to a story that we've created for ourselves or for others. And when it just doesn't work out the way we've drafted it, right? We just open up ourselves to suffering. So Buddhism teaches us that there are 4 noble truths. And one of those truths is that suffering can be reduced, and a way to reduce suffering, if you look at the 8-fold path, one of those paths is to have mindfulness. So in today's meditation, we're going to have mindfulness about releasing expectations. All right, that's the intro. Let's begin. So just settle into your chair, relax, shake out any stress and tension that you have as you just ease into this moment and take a few deep breaths. In, out, exhale. Breathing in out. Notice just breathing in, slowing down your breath. Already you're just getting into this wonderful mindful state that you enter when you meditate. Now, I'd like you to think of an expectation that you have been creating, the story that you've been drafting in your mind. And it could be an expectation that you have for yourself or an expectation that you have for someone else, for others. Just take a moment, continue having deep breaths. And I need you to select an expectation. An expectation that you have for yourself or now I'm going to ask you to visualize. So take that expectation and we're going to turn it into a balloon that's not inflated. And as we breathe in, we're going to take that little expectation and we're going to give it space. We're going to breathe in and we're going to inflate that balloon. We're going to and it fills up a space. Give you a moment to create that visualization. Fill balloon. That balloon is a visualization of your expectation. You can give that balloon a color or a pattern, a design, whatever you decide, because you're creating this expectation, right? And now I want you to give this balloon some movement. It's attached by a string. It's there in front of you. But notice that it can bob around. It can go to the left. It can go to the right. It can go a little bit up. It can go a little bit down. Maybe this balloon even circles around you. Just give it a little life. Notice how it floats. Right there in front of you. You have created this expectation. Now it's time to release. So just like you when you were a child and you were holding a balloon and you let go of the string, that's what we're going to do. We're going to let go of that balloon and we're going to watch it. Watch it as it just floats up, up, up and away. And a breeze comes along, just carries it off. And as you're watching that balloon, it just further and further away from you. And what was once very large right in front of you is now turning into a smaller and smaller circle. And pretty soon, it's just a dot in the sky, in the horizon. And pretty soon, it disappears. It's gone from your sight. You just released that expectation that you created. And now I want you to go within and notice the space that's left behind, because that expectation that you were hanging on to, that you created, it's gone. So now there's this wonderful, wonderful empty space. And a infinite possibility. This is the space of anything can happen. This is divine wisdom. And notice that this space is empty for now. But wait, what is that? There's peace and there's love and there's ease. Because nature's always trying to fill a space, right? It doesn't like empty spaces. So just create something that you want instead. Create a new visualization. What is going into the space now that you've released your expectations? Choose one of those divine qualities: joy, peace, abundance, happiness. Create a visualization for those if that helps. What is now in that sacred space that you've created now that you've released those expectations that were weighing you down? I don't know about you, but that really worked for me. I hope it worked for you. All right. I could sit in this wonderful space for a long time because it feels so good and so peaceful, but I know that we have a wonderful musician. Leah is standing in the wings and she's ready to go. So gently wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, open your eyes, or maybe just stay in that relaxed state as you enjoy the music of Leah.
I had an idea, an expectation, not quite an attachment, but an idea of what I would sing. And then you shifted our perspective into intention and attention and releasing. So this song just kind of wafted into my space, and I'm sure everyone's heard it, so feel free to sing. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, a smile with the rising sun. It's three little birds, each by my doorstep, singing sweet songs of melodies pure and true, singing, this is my message to you. Don't worry about a thing, don't you worry, no, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. I say you don't worry about a thing, I won't worry, no, no, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. We rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. It's three little birds perched by a doorstep, singing sweet, sweet songs, the melody pure and true. What they sing is, this is my message to you. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. No, don't you worry about a thing, don't you worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. One more time, we're singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright.
Oh, yay! Woot! That was amazing. Okay, I'm finding it. I'm replacing it. Here we go. Hey, that was amazing. Woo! I love that, the little twist that you put on it. Thank you, Leah, for being so in the moment inspired. You gotta love it. So welcome to week 5. That's 5, count them. In July, we were talking speaking truth to circumstances. And that is a great meditation too that Tamara took us through, where we recognize, oh, I had these expectations. And I love how Leah said, oh, I did have an expectation. And so the beautiful demonstration that we see in the moment, if we're here, if we're present, if we're mindful, is that each moment we can realize, oh, I have expectations that I'm placing on things. What would happen if I just let them go? And there's that lightness that we felt in that meditation that just, wow, we're so much lighter when we're not imposing our thoughts on the world. In fact, speaking truth to circumstances, it sounds like we want to impose our thoughts on the world. We want to speak truth to these circumstances. This is what I want. It could be seen that way. Like, we could say, let's just place our expectations on top of what's already a congealed situation that came about not only through our own habitual thinking, but the thinking of those around us. And so we might walk up to what appears to be a wall of stones carefully built, placed one on top of the other, that says, thou shalt not enter, you shall not go further. What happens in life when we walk up to such things? And these are the circumstances that we were talking about all month. What happens when we, in our lightness of being, show up and the outside world just simply doesn't agree with what it is we want? We have a couple of choices. And this whole talk today is about what choices we have. But it's best illustrated if I could just read you a quick story. Now, I am not going to summarize the story because Charlene will place certain little things in it that weren't there, and I don't want to change the gist of the story, which is amazing in and of itself. But I reserve the right to add my stuff later. All right, so listen. This is the story from Mark Nepo, a book called The Awakening, the Book of Awakening. So here he goes. We were up early, eager to walk the botanical gardens of Montreal, where they have the largest bonsai collection in the world outside of Asia. We strolled toward the Chinese temple garden, a lush yet simple retreat from the streets. It covers acres. It's a place of renewal, originally constructed in the 1600s in China and then moved stone by stone to Montreal in 1990. As we approached this massive gate, it was locked. I panicked, ready to demand entry after driving 400 miles from another country to see this. Robert, calmly, like an Oriental sage himself, treated this situation as if it were a koan, a riddle to be entered until its very assumptions shifted. He began to walk the outer wall of the garden. It seemed insurmountable. I was frustrated. He kept walking slowly along the high wall. Since the garden stretched for acres, I wondered if we would have to walk its entire perimeter. The thought made me cranky. He kept strolling. Suddenly, when we had walked farther than what was originally in our view, the walls disappeared. It turned out that the garden had no walls, save for the facade at its entrance. So we simply walked through the open grass to a path that welcomed us. How many thresholds that seem blocked or barred or locked only seem so from their initial viewing? How many opportunities, he says, for true living are barrier-free, if only we can remove ourselves and our minds from the traditional points of view, from the traditional points of entry. That's from Mark Nepo. And I thought about that. I said, oh, this is perfect. Because these stones weren't even originally there. They were imported from some other country because the contents of the thing are specific to that country or continent at that point. And so these stones were brought in one by one, stacked up carefully, made a big wall with a beautiful ornate gate and a lock. How many times have we imported the thoughts, the limitations, the rules, and I'm going to use air quotes for rules, that aren't even ours, even though what's inside is this thing that's universal, this thing, maybe even the teaching that surrounds all of these little stones of thou shalt not, you cannot, nope, sorry, can't do it, go back, turn around, no entry. How many of those, I mean, maybe they were meant to do good things, but how many of our times have we brought in to our own experience these stones of circumstance that form themselves into a big wall, a big barrier? Do we look and say, "Ah," like like Mark in the story? He was ready to call the manager. I need to see the manager. Because a lot of times what we do is we go into, hold on, let me look at my notes. We go into this form of transition. We want to do a transition. In fact, we call in the forces. We fight something. And we use our logic, we use our energy, we use our strength to take what's happening and make it transition into something else. Because this is what we've been taught. We said, oh, gotta have grit. Every one of us who grew up with parents who, got through some trouble, every time we want to sit down and just cry, they tell us to get it together. I'll give you 5 minutes. Pity party 5 minutes, starting now. And after that, get up and get back in there. Shake it off. At least that's what I was taught. Shake it off. Get back in there. You got this. And so, yeah, we struggled through. We're on the struggle bus and we're struggling through. This is transition where we think we need to surmount that wall because that's what it's there for. We're not turning around. We demand to see a manager or whatever it is that's in our power, and we link up locked arms with our friends or coalition, and we go. That's fine. That tends to work. These things, this is how we transition from, I suppose that's what we did in whole to get out of slavery. I'm sure that's what we did. And then civil rights movement, and even these movements, right? They come, they go, they ebb and they flow. We had Obama, now we had Trump. I mean, it's like the backlash from moving forward is a couple steps back, and each time one side is celebrating and the other side is plotting and the other side starts celebrating, and it's this thing. What's happening? What's happening? Well, I'm glad you asked. I know you didn't ask, but Ernest Holmes says, one alone in consciousness, Ernest Holmes, our founder, one alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority, and it helps us realize how we're supposed to be facing these standing stones in our lives. It's the same kind of thing, Ernest saying that if we can be alone in our consciousness with the infinite, who can be against us? Like if you've got that energy with the divine, or Jesus even said, go alone. Okay, so he says, go into the closet, into secret, and commune with the Father. That's what Jesus said too. Like in Buddha, sit still, be still, go within. It's all across these. The teaching is when we approach something that seems insurmountable, are we gonna fight it and link up with other people and get through it that way with our might, trying to transition something? Or do we go within? Here's our other option. Knowing that we're one with the divine, treating everything as if this has something to teach me instead of opposing it, kind of going with it, and then asking, what is mine to do here? What is really happening? And that's transformation. So instead of trying to go into transition and make it change, we go into transformation. Transformation is when you just say, oh, there isn't even a wall here. Transformation is that energy that you question and you're interested and you're in the moment, you are present and mindful with the so-called problem, treating it much like the partner of Mark in the story that treated it much like a koan. Oh, this is kind of a riddle. What am I to learn here? Let me just do this curious walking as I'm one with the situation. Notice there's no fighting it. There's just oneness with it. It's like going in the private, becoming conscious of your oneness with the divine, and then watching what opens up. In that story, the whole wall literally just stopped. I love it. It just stopped being a wall. It had to feel miraculous to the person who was fighting the whole time. But that's what happens. Transformation is when you realize there is no such thing. There was only such a thing as this so-called wall as long as I was fighting with the thing. But the minute I rise above it and I realize something deeper, something stronger, something higher, then, oh, it doesn't even exist. Another example, imagine that you find yourself caught up in a riptide. Oh, no, that's not good. You're swimming in the ocean, and then you realize that no matter how much might you use to swim toward the shore, you're being carried out further into the ocean. Imagine you find yourself in this situation. All right, well, now what do we do? And so you start trying to change it, transition. Let's change this. Let's use our might. Maybe I'll swim in a diagonal pattern like they teach you. Not definitely toward the shore, but not away, but toward diagonal. Maybe I'll lay on my back and kick because I'm exhausted doing the crawl. And then maybe couple divers, swimmers, power swimmers come and help you and everybody takes you to shore. That's transitional thinking, and that's fine. That's how you get out of trouble. But imagine that then you wake up and you realize you were dreaming. And that's transformation. So the difference between transitional thinking is when you're in it at the level of the problem, fighting against the circumstances, which I'm not saying is bad. Sometimes we need to do that. But transformation is when you realize, oh, there is no such thing. Notice that it was a dream. We found ourselves floating out into the ocean and fighting against it and then we woke up and realized that was just a dream. I am not saying that if you find yourself in the middle of the ocean, pretend you're dreaming and just give up. Nope, not saying that. Just to be clear. But let's be a little more specific about it. What other ways are we sometimes caught up when we're just fighting something, or we realize we can rise higher? And sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes you are floating along in life, you're in a good space, and then something happens where you better get real and you better get conscious and get present. At the risk of telling too many stories, here's one more story. This is from Andy Harris, Spirituality and Social Action. He says, we all know that our circumstances can change in an instant. One time I was bicycling at over 45 miles per hour down a steep paved road from Anthony Lake in Blue Mountains of Eastern Oregon. Sounds gorgeous. He said, I had been taking the descent casually, sitting up high in the saddle, enjoying the breeze, and treating my bike like a fun toy. Suddenly, I noticed gravel on the asphalt, kicked up by vehicles that had driven too close to the unpaved shoulder. The presence of gravel changed everything, made the ride potentially treacherous. I grasped the drop bars and adjusted to a nearly horizontal position on the bike. Keeping my weight low and tight on the pedals and handlebar, I slowed my speed and made a few small zigzags to be sure that the bike was responsive to my slightest touch. In an instant, I was one with that bike, a single entity gliding joyfully and safely down the mountain. I felt far more prepared for what the bike and I encountered on the road. This may seem like a frivolous example of being vulnerable, it hardly seemed innocuous at the time. He says, each of us has lived through difficult times in our lives. He said, I've had my share of disappointments, frustration, and pain, but we are not to dwell in the depths of darkness, but to take what corrective measures we can and come out on the other side into the light. We are to internalize God's abundant love and compassion and to joyfully serve those who are hurting more than we are. So if you think about this, it's an interesting thing where we went from my previous story where you're fighting against the current to try to get back to land, and you're and then a transformation of, oh, I was dreaming. And yet a lot of us are just walking through, just happily living our lives. A lot of us who take our courses, who know something else is going on, something bigger is going on, we tend to be a little more light-filled. Yet there are times when you do need to hunker down, pay attention, get real. You know, whenever those moments where, have you ever fallen off of something? You ever had an accident where everything is in slow motion? It's weird how time is not the same in different circumstances. And it's just not exactly the same. So what I'm talking about is getting that when you're out of your center, when you're not feeling just as happy-go-lucky, when something's up, you get centered and you get calm. And you connect with the divine. And then just like he did on his bike, he was one with his machine, and he knew how to gather his attention and bring it to this moment. It's what happens when we get in those if we get in a bickering thing with someone and we realize, oh, this is, okay, something else is going on here. What I said did not warrant that response. And so we go within and we come up very conscious, very aware, and we carefully walk, we carefully speak. Like I was saying a couple of weeks ago, we don't want to create more harm and have to come back and apologize. Just get real clear and real connected. So life gives us things, right? We've got things we're happy about, we've got things we're sad about, and then there's the news. So we were just chatting before we got on today about the Florida ocean temperatures are now in the triple digits, you guys. This is not good news for the ocean. And in fact, it says it's so hot in Florida right now, the ocean temperature in one area just crossed a temperature of 101 degrees, 101.1 in Manatee Bay near the Everglades. So now, yes, we have standing stones in our personal lives. We have things we got to do. But then we look out at society and we say, what's going on? We've got such global warming, and it's not a partisan issue. Everybody's on the earth, rather, I don't care what your politics are. We all live on this beautiful blue dot, and it's getting hotter. So there, and what they said at Florida State University is that when coral is harmed by the warm ocean temperatures, it can have a cascading effect on everything else because everything's connected. This climate crisis is a thing. In fact, crises in general call up certain responses from us. What are we going to do? Who are we going to be in the face of crises? And I don't know how you are going to respond. It's up to each one of us to say, what am I doing? First thing we can't do is pretend it's not happening. And then tell our grandkids, oh, just hope for the best. It'll be fine. No. Hope, I mean, it has its place, but this is not the time. Greta Thunberg, you know, the environmental activist, Greta, she says, adults keep saying we owe it to young people to give them hope, but I don't want your hope, she said. I don't want you to be hopeful. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. And then I want you to act. I want you to act as you would in a crisis. I want you to act as if our house is on fire, because it is. This is one of those moments we have to get like the man on the bicycle. You see a crisis, get it together, connect within. And then he was one with that bicycle navigating that situation. We've got to become one with our planet and navigate as we're internally led. I'm not going to tell you what that is. But each person, I just offer, each person go within and ask yourself what is mine to do. And even today, I'm like, well, we have electric cars and we have the solar panel. Are we doing, because we have it, are we a little more frivolous with the electricity? And the answer is yes. Do we keep the thermostat a little lower because we feel like, well, we earned it, we have all this? So for me, it could just be turning that thermostat up a couple and just getting my little battery fan and using that. Little things each one of us can do, because it's not getting any cooler around here, y'all. And an MIT professor said, we need to treat the planet as a system. And up until now, we've operated more as if it were made of separate parts. Like I could just play with this part and not affect the whole thing. So that's the piece. But on brighter note, the other news article that also gave me more, because there's a lot going on, as we know, and we can pick and choose the news to make us feel a certain way. But on the other side of things, there might be a super weapon being developed against cancer. Now, I had to suspend the part of my mind that says, oh, isn't this the beginning of one of those movies where Will Smith was all by himself and the rest of the world was dead? I had to suspend that part as I read this article. This says, a cancer-busting guided missile built from microscopic components that click together like Legos is how researchers at the University College of London described a possible new cancer therapy. It's devised by joining a trio of proteins together to create a molecular superweapon. Now, see, this is the part where I was like, all right. They have the antibody fragment that binds to cancer cells, and that's the guidance system. And then what happens is another one calls in the artillery strike, which is the T cells. And then the third piece is the enzyme that knocks out all of its defenses. These three things are the superpower to get rid of the cancer. So it's only happening right now in a petri dish. But the hope is that finally, maybe we might have something to cure this rampant effect of cancer that we find. Now, again, we know that healing is revealing the underlying wholeness. And I don't want to say that whoever has cancer, something's wrong and you have to go and kill it all to make things right. But I do want to say this, that there's a difference between wholeness and healing. So we know that wholeness is who everybody is. So if we were to come upon somebody who is battling cancer, we wouldn't say, oh, too bad you're not whole. No, they're already whole. But the healing is the process of revealing that wholeness in the body. And so if there is something that's being developed that can assist that, then let's go. But let's make sure that we watch it, because I also watch movies. I could tell you about artificial intelligence. There's always an article coming out. And so what do all these things have to do with anything? It comes down to what's in front of us right now. How is it being presented? Is it being presented as something good so we can celebrate, or something bad that we can try to fight? And just know that whatever is going on can easily flip the other way, because life is that yin yang symbol. It's a balance of energy. And our goal, our higher goal, I would believe, is to simply know that that's true, be a witness to it, and don't get caught up in it. Know that there's something higher. The divine is higher. Everything we're looking at, there's something behind it that is more powerful than that. The circumstances that we're looking at are the results of thinking, and we can change that by going into a higher level of thinking. And so what's being called from us right now, when it comes up for you, I would love for you to look at a circumstance and ask the divine, ask the universe, what is mine to do? And listen for the vision that might come through, an idea that sparks within you that is the result of this catalyst, this crisis, this situation that caused us to say, how can I transform through this and become an even greater version of myself? All right, so let's go within and have some prayer. Do we have any prayer requests? No. So in this idea of oneness, that everything is connected, we cannot be separate from the divine. If we tried, I will speak my word into that space, because there is only one power. There cannot be anything outside of the one. And in this oneness, I and you and we all live, we move, we have our beingness in this one life. This one life that has replicated itself a zillion different ways and is continuing to do so. This one life that expresses itself as me, as you, as each other, and that attracts itself to itself. That there are things about me that attract me to you, and there's things about us that attract others, and there's something bigger going on that is happening through us. This is the divine in action. This is what's happening. And so I'm so aware, keenly aware of this oneness as it moves through us. I am blessed to be part of this and just able to sit and hear, what is my purpose? What are my hands, my feet, my mind, my mouth? What am I meant to do to help transform this planet, the people in it, and the spirit itself, transforming it and understanding that we are always unfolding to something greater. That is the trajectory, always to something greater. And as I pull my attention away from looking at things good or bad, I simply know that things are as they are, and what is mine to do? I embrace wholeness. I embrace abundance. I embrace the love and the power and the peace that is my birthright. And I invite everyone within the sound of my voice to do the same, to know that we can only grow more and more in our true nature, that we are only becoming more and more ourselves as we let go any idea unlike our highest perfection. And so I give great gratitude for this awareness, just the ability to sit and speak the truth, knowing that it is already unfolding in our lives. I let it go, I let it be, and so it is. And now it's time for Leah. Let me unmute you, sorry, let me find it. Don't know. Here we go, go ahead.
We let the light wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I'll try to dry them all. I'm on your side. we let it be.
Oh my goodness, my goodness. Oh, Leah, thank you so much. Bridge Over Troubled Waters is one of my favorite songs. And Charlene, thank you so much for that wonderful, powerful message. I'm going to hang on to the visualization of that Mark Nepo story about you're standing in front of the garden and you're just looking at the walls. That was wonderful. So, folks, now is the time that we bless our donations that are shared with our center today. At CSL Leesburg, we believe in the law of circulation. And so we are a tithing community. And we're always looking for organizations. So if you have something that you would like us to contribute to, we take part of what you give us and we send some off to the home organization. We keep a little bit for ourselves so that we can keep coming to you and bringing this wonderful music and message to you each Sunday. But we also donate to organizations that support our vision of helping to create a world that works for everyone, and everyone meaning even future generations. So if you have a great organization, please let us know. Now, no matter how you are, no matter which way you have found to make your donation, you can see all the choices on the screen. Please join me as you place it over your heart, and we will say our affirmation of oneness as we bless our gifts. The presence of spirit within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. Therefore, I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. And so it is. Now it's time for some announcements. No announcements today. All right. I know Charlene is cooking up some stuff because I saw an email. There's some more classes in the future coming up. We are getting ready to wrap up our Exploring Roots class in the near future. I think we have about 2 more classes. So we'll be looking at future classes that we can provide for you. But for now, because you've already given us your attention and your love, we're going to do our closing affirmation. But remember that we do pearls after service if you can stay. And if you want to talk a little bit more about what Charlene presented to us, please join us and stay. And if not, we're going to send you off with our love and blessing after we do our closing affirmation. So once again, take your hands, put them over your heart. Unmute first, because you know I love to hear you. And join me in saying, I am love.
I am love. And you can unmute yourselves now. Go for it.
I heard Charlene. I want to hear love. Thank you. And you know what's really neat? We were talking about this. I got to interject. So here's Leah right now. She's in Denmark, and who knows where Layla is? She's always traveling. And we got Renee V up in Massachusetts, and Dan and Aaron and Mafi, and just think about all the love that is coming your way as you say this second part. So think about someone who's on screen, someone who's on the other side of the world, someone who's on the other side of the country, someone who maybe might be in your living room with you, and send out the message. You are loved.
You are loved.
Did you feel the waves coming from everywhere? Man, all right, guys, it's all love. Join me in that last affirmation. It's all
love.
Love. All right, thank you so much. I hope you feel energized and renewed, restored from the message and the music and the meditation today. I do. If you can stay, please stay. And if you're going to leave us, know that we send you off with our love and blessings. And that's